Hey y'all, welcome back. It's your girl Shar, and we're going to continue our series of Queen Charlotte, a Bridgeton story. And I really love this series because each episode it focused on a different topic, still similar to the background of the queen and insight of the king as well, and then other main characters that's in this show. So that's what I really like about the show. And then there is a lot of full circle moments. So between the past and the present tense, with the scenes, is a lot of full circle moments that make sense. That you'll have an aha moment, like, oh, I see why they did that, or I see why that is going on. And that's what's been going on throughout this whole series. So we're going to be diving into episode two. So episode two is about honeymoon bliss. And we start off the episode in the past still. So the queen is waking up. You can tell she's disappointed, just upset or frustrated because she's just been spending the last few days alone in her honeymoon suite. In not her honeymoon suite, her honeymoon stage, her phase. And she asks Brimsley about her engagement diary just to see like what kind of activities or things she's gonna be doing. But Brimsley says nothing on her agenda because she still is in her honeymoon stage. So according to that custom of London, if you get married, you have a few days of your marriage in private without any visitors, without going doing any engagements with the community. So you spend those days with your husband, and she has not been spending those days with her husband. So she just really like you can tell she was just like a little bit upset. The next scene, you notice that you'll see Princess Augusta with the royal council, and they're just really talking about, just very out of curiosity, if they perform the marital act and how the great experience can be at jeopardy depending on what's going on in the household in their honeymoon stage. So they were just really curious about it, and they were just talking about that, having that little conversation. And then we go back to the queen. So we notice it hasn't been just one day. It's been multiple days because each scene she's dressed up, doing the same routine, having breakfast alone, having dinner alone, having breakfast alone, having dinner alone. Nothing else to do, no one else to truly talk to. And this gets to her. So she just freaking out, screaming, and she just loses it when she's in the room alone. She just loses it. You can just tell she's getting frustrated by everything. And then it flashes back into the present tense. So in the present tense, we see a scene with Lady Bridgerton, Lady Violet Bridgerton, with her grandbaby, just playing with her grandbaby. And then the queen is all of a sudden in this room. She's talking to her sons about them getting married, making sure the bloodline continues and that they have a rightful royal heir to the throne. And you can tell she's being very impatient with them. Like, she just really going at them and just being very impatient. And then after that scene, after the present scene is over, it flashes back to the past again. And then in the past, she just cuts her dinner. The queen is having dinner. She just clearly, visibly, you can tell she's angry. And then she just stops while she's eating dinner. She tells Brimsley to get her cabbage carriage ready so that way she can see her husband, King George. Then the next scene, we see Queen approaches Reynolds and she asks him, like, where the king at? And then Reynolds tells her that the king is in the observatory. So she proceeds to walk to the observatory. I did not know that. I didn't read the book, so I didn't know like the details behind that. So I did not know that Brimsley and Reynolds had like a romantic relationship. And that was like surprising, but it was pretty cool just to see like his little side of things, his little backstory about everything, how he became acquainted to the queen, and how he has a romantic interest, and it's just not him being under her thumb all the time. So he has his own life. So the queen walks in the observatory and she's looking around. She noticed that the king has been there for a few days because she noticed that his plates piling up. She notices papers everywhere. She notices a blanket in the room where he's been sleeping. And she just gets upset. And she just was curious. You spent all this time during our honeymoon stage to be in the observatory to look at the stars. but not with her. And she just feel like something was wrong with her because he is not taking that time to spend with her. Instead, he's like in this observatory, just very obsessed. And she just would have been relieved. She just mentions that she wish he would have visited a brothel because she would have been relieved if at least it's somebody he's going to instead of some stars. And then she just gets upset and she just talks to him like she just got to get used to the strange food, the customs. She doesn't have any friends. She has to be a certain type of way. And she only knows George. And she begs King George to fight for her to be with her. And King George is like neglecting all the questions she's asking and just pushes her away and tells her to leave. So she leaves. The next day, okay. The next day, Reynolds and Brimsley are in front of the Princess Atura and the royal council, and the princess asks questions, just inquiring about their king and the queen relationship status, how the honeymoon stages are going. Did they perform the marital duties of king and queen? And how it will be good for the country if they have a successful honeymoon, good for the experiment. And the princess gets feedback from Reynolds, and Reynolds mentioned that everything went well, everything is going good. So, yeah, we noticed that. And then in the next scene, we see Lord and Lady Danbury. They're at it again. I don't know how she can deal with that. Like, you can tell she just don't like it at all. Like, she just there just to do her duty, and she just feel like I feel like she feels like she's a prisoner. Like, she's just doing her duty, doing what she need to do so she can be done with. And she noticed that she was talking to Cora while she was bathing because that's her thing. She has to bathe right after that happens. And she was talking to Cora about how Lord Danbury has the title and all, but is getting denied entry and not getting treated fairly, not getting the things that's rightfully owned under his title. And so she was just talking to Cora about that. And then Brimsley just got it was another scene, so it hops scene to scene. So the next scene, Brimsley just knows that the queen was still upset and still sad. So he went up to Reynolds and just talked to him like, what's going on with the king? How about, show something? Like, he needs to show something to show that he cares about her, like a gesture or something. So the queen, she's in this garden. It has a lot of different types of fruit, mainly oranges. So she tries to reach and grab this orange, but all these guards just grab this orange away from her. And she just noticed that she can't even pick her own orange. And then Brimsley just mentioned that the king has left a note and a gift for her. She gets excited. She runs to look at the gift, and the gift happens to be a Pomeranian dog. The dog was so cute, but she didn't really know what kind of dog it was, so she just called it a deformed bunny. And she gets upset, like, he spent all these days and nights without being with me, and then the first thing he does is gives me a dog. And then then the next scene, no, she was still talking to Brimsley, and she wanted to have a visitor. She wanted to have Lady Danbury over. So Lady Danbury, you can tell that she was confused that while she was there. She was confused while she was there because she noticed that she's still in her honeymoon phases. So the queen just start telling her how her honeymoon is going well, and you can tell that she's lying about it, that Lady Danbury is not believing her. So she just asks her, can she speak freely? So everyone left the room. And then she tells her that she's a terrible liar, that her experience of her honeymoon didn't go as well either. And then she asks her if they had performed have they did consummating how they consummated the marriage, which is performing the marital act of the marriage. And the rule is if you don't consummate the marriage, then your title is at risk and you cannot be officially, it doesn't mean that you're officially married. So she had the queen, you can tell the queen didn't know what she was talking about and what that entails. So Lady Danbury started drawing pictures so that way she understands what is going on during that time of consummating. And it was a long, not even that long ago, Britain had beheaded women for not having children. So, yikes. Alrighty. And then the queen just said, why do we have to do this? Because it's pointless. And that she doesn't like him and everything. And then Lady Danbury just continued to tell her that she's the first of her kind and that she uses this analogy to describe the Pomeranian because she just, told her it was just a dog. She said, no, it's not just any dog. It's a rare, purebred Pomeranian. And then it flashes back to the present tense, the scene, and then the queen is sitting down with Lady Violet, Lady Danbury, and they're having this conversation about marriage. And the queen just mentions to Lady Violet Bridgeton, she asks her how she get two of her children to get married. And then Lady Bridgeton mentions that it helps if they're in love. And the queen was like, they don't have a problem being in love. They love commoners, they love actresses. They love them so much that they have 50 illegitimate children, babies. And everyone is like side-eyeing, like, what? And then Lady Bridgerton tags in Lady Danbury, like, oh, Lady Danbury must have a lot of children. And Lady Danbury, like, well, I have four. And they did me a favor and went away. And she mentions that marriage can be a duty or a lifelong sentence. And then Lady Bridgerton has her perspective, like, no, it's not a lifelong sentence. It could be traditional, marriage, family, just everything. And the queen's just like looking in disgust as she was describing her view of marriage. They both have different points of view of marriage. And then it flashes back to the past again. And the queen was lying in her bed the next day. She hears the dog cries. Then Brimley visit Reynolds again to check on, just to check on her. And then we noticed that Brimsley was just asking Reynolds, like, what is wrong with the king? Like, why is he not visiting her? And Reynolds just shut him down, like, just worry about your business and your queen. Don't worry about what's going on this side of the town, pretty much. And then, so the next scene we see the princess calls in Lady Danbury and she knows that she visit Queen Charlotte, and she was just curious on what did her and Queen Charlotte talked about. And Lady Danbury just play it smart and said, "Oh, we just had tea." And the princess knows that it was more than just tea that was being held. Not only did they drink tea, they was spilling tea. So she wanted to know what the tea was. And then I like how Lady Danbury had did a bargain of the conversation and just saying that she needs something in return from her, and the princess just assumed it was money, and Lady Danbury was calling her girl and everything like that, and she was like, "My title is Lady Danbury, the title that you put thrown on me." And she started respecting her after that. And then she said that, she said that she didn't know she thought she was the quiet type. She said, "I'm not quiet, just my husband is simply loud." Period, girl, period. And then on to the conversation, another thing that stuck out to me was when Lady Danbury said, "It's not about the money. Like, you forgot that my father-in-law was a king of Sierra Leone, which they have money. That's why the king knew him." She wants access. She wants them to have access to hunts, to the rightful land and property that they own, the best seats of the opera, just to be treated fairly. And in order for her to, in return, give her this information before the House of Lords would be at her door because she can't even keep her palace in order. And so she, tells her be careful and everything. And then the next scene We noticed that the queen, she's getting ready again for dinner. She knows she's gonna be alone. She has some cute outfits on. So she was sitting down at the table and she noticed that the king was on the other end of the table. So she gets upset because the king is acting like everything is normal, like it's a normal day. And so she's get upset and then he just want to and then they had like a little bickering section going on. He said, "Just let me show you what I've been working on." So they went back to his side of the where his estate where he was at in the observatory, and he showed her what he was studying. He was studying the planet Venus, and she was looking at it. She thought it was beautiful. They became okay again, and she was just wondering what was wrong with her. And I don't think he still answered the question at that time, but he was a lot more gentle with her this time. Then they share a kiss. He came back to the palace where they supposed to live together, and they plan to do the marital act that evening. Then we notice in the next scene that Lord and Lady Danbury arrive on this beautiful property, this estate with this land and this big old building, and it happens to be their rightfully owned estate. And Lord Danbury is like in confusion, like, where is this all coming from all of a sudden? And that he appreciate that he's getting the respect that he deserves and that they live in a new world and they feel like equals and it's not like the past, not like how it was in the past. And he thought he would never saw this day. And then Lady Danbury was just smiling. She was smiling. She was gonna let him have that one, even though it was her doing all this stuff behind the scenes. But anywho, and then the queen, the next day after they perform the marital act, the queen is all excited, has the dog ready to have breakfast with the king. Then she overhears that the queen was with not the queen, that the king was with the princess Athora, and they was having this debate, like this argument, and that Princess Dora was just asking him that he properly sealed the marriage. And the king just gets upset, like, "I've been doing everything for the throne, like, you asked me to get married, you asked me to do this, you asked me to do that, and I haven't, I haven't, I have." So he gets upset, and the queen overhears all this stuff, so she gets upset, so she decides she's gonna eat breakfast alone. Then it flashes back to the present time where the queen sits at the same table and she is alone once again with the Pomeranian dog. I'm not sure how long that dog was living, and she eats her breakfast and she said the breakfast was wonderful. And then it flashes back to the past again when Reynolds walked up to the king in this room and he mentioned that the princess left and that the queen was eating breakfast. And then the king, something would start going on with the king. Like he was really, you can tell he was really like in pain or something was going on with him with his health because the way that he like tried to catch himself from falling, that he sat down in his chair, he grasped his head. You can tell something was going on, but we wasn't sure what it was. And Reynolds asked, "Well, let me know what you think. Make sure you like and subscribe. And thank you for listening." Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and share for more. Have a good day now. Bye.